Hi, welcome to ECA's podcast with Alison Warner and Dan Jackson, also known as Dan's the Engineer. And we're here today to talk about growth and prosperity. One of ECA's missions in life is to lead the industry to growth and prosperity, and it offers its members a series of information about upcoming issues. It campaigns government, and it offers members services to help support their business through growth and prosperity. So we're here today to talk about how the challenges that people face in setting up their businesses and going it alone. Where are the pinch points for when you hit barriers to growth like IT, employing people? You mentioned marketing earlier.
There's so much to it. I think what tends to happen is the more inquiries somebody gets, that's when they think they want to grow. I think it just comes naturally. And so, and there's some business owners who already have a plan, and that they're the ones who I see succeed much better because they've actually got a plan on growth. But some just fall into it. They might get a contract and they just kind of make it happen, and they get another contract and they make it happen. And so it's either down to you to go out and get the work, or if it just flows naturally. But I've got a business model, and a lot of it's about building a foundation that nobody really sees. And it is the financials, it's the HR, and it's the management. People don't really see that. The operational stuff can develop and grow as it comes. And then obviously marketing and sales, it's all part of it. You're always, when you have hurdles, there's not just one. There's so many hurdles as you go, and I see a lot of companies, they're very reactive, not proactive at all.
And one of the themes of your book, Alison, is about how you package the business. Are there any tips you'd like to draw out about how you found that important as you embarked upon your own journey?
Working for large organisations, I came into the world of self-employment being very confident in managing profit and loss and managing people, because that's what I'd done for 20 odd years. But at no point had I had to market myself. I didn't even have a niche or a product when I went out. I just was a coach, and I just went out to my network and was lucky enough to get enough work to get started. It wasn't until much later, it was actually through working with my own coach and mentors that I came across how to productize and how to niche and how to have a sales conversation, a sales meeting. But all of that I've learned through having mentorship. I can't recommend it highly enough. Had I not done that investment, there's just no way that the business would be where it is today.
Because presumably, Dan, when you start out, clients are buying you.
Yeah, they are.
Limited liability or not, it is you.
It is the individuals, yeah. And if I worked for my old electrical contracting company and I wanted to say, see you later, I'm working for someone else, my clients would come with me. And unless the business offered equally what I could somewhere else. And I've always said with electrical suppliers of goods, I've always followed the person, not the companies. The company just makes it happen. It's just a driving factor, whereas the actual person is the relationship, and that that's really important. But with a business, the thing is with the electrical industry, there's so much competition. You have to be different.
You talked about the electrical industry. Are there parts of the industry that are easier than others? We have consumer-facing work. We have subcontracting, subcontracting work direct for the end user. Is it easier in some areas?
None of it's easy. It's all got its pros and cons. I mean, the consumer, working for consumers, in some respects, it can be good because cash flow, you can get money coming in quicker and easier in some ways. However, it's bulk of work, and once you rewire a house, you're going to work for them again? Probably not. Whereas if you work for businesses, if you work for properties, you might constantly have works coming in because they need to be maintained. If you work for construction, you'll be tendering for jobs. So every single element has its pros and cons.
Okay. There is a uniqueness to our sector, of course, which is that our business models are that as sellers, we are selling labour, materials, and then a finished product, which is obviously the final works as completed. We tend in commercial contracts, but that's business to business relationships, to be paid after we've carried it out, so in an arrears basis, and someone else looks at what we've asked for and tells us how much they're willing to pay. Pretty unique, where the buyer says, I've got your goods, I've tried it out, I don't think it's worth it.
Yeah.
And that window between spending money on both labour and materials, whether you're small, medium, large or massive, and getting paid for it, must be critical to the whole relationship.
It is, yeah. You have to deliver what they believe you're going to deliver, but also, I suppose, making sure your terms and conditions and all the paperwork is quite tight as well. And again, different types of works and services that you provide. I mean, I personally, I used to steer away from construction, completely stay away from it. That's just my personal experience, because any money I got knocked was from construction. Whereas if I work direct for the client, the end user, likely to get paid.
It's also, I mean, it ties back into accounting software, because if you've got that set up correctly, then the systems that are out there now, Xero's our favourite as well, will send automatic reminders, but obviously that's only a small part of it. Having the terms and conditions in place is important. Having a relationship with a debt collection agency should the worst happen and you still not get paid. Just understanding all of that so that you set your shop out as a business that is professional and you have a process in place to chase payments, you're more likely to get paid first. If you're working with a business that has got cash flow problems, that they'll pay the professional ones and those that are shouting the loudest first, in my experience.
I also think it's the quality of the work that you produce, and knowing what your team can cope with. Because you might have a core team, let's say you've got 10 guys working for you, you know them very well, you get a bigger project that you take on because you can see the pound signs, which is great. But there is a skill shortage in this country with electricians. And if you go to agency, it's anybody's guess if you get someone good or not. Whereas if you have your core team, you know what they're capable of. And again, when I've got people in as on temporary contract or whatever, that's when I've struggled, because I can't. It's harder to understand where they're going to be, and it creates more work for me to manage and supervise, and then you end up not making any money anyway.
So quality control.
100% quality control.
One of the biggest challenges we've had: financial literacy, management information, quality control.
Yeah.
Contractual or risk literacy too. You mentioned your core team. I think that's quite important. I've heard that from many clients in the past who have rung up. Reflecting on my own experience at ECA, you can go from the client who says, and I'm quoting them, not me, I'm just an electrician, I wouldn't know much about this stuff, Rob. And I've gone back to them and said, well, hang on, you were an electrician, you are now a business owner that happens to be an electrician. To some of the more successful, iconic members of our industry who are still around in very senior positions, who have grown businesses over the years, who have said the most important thing through their careers has been having their Cobra team, if you like, around them and recruiting them at the right points of their trajectory as a business. Alison Warner, thank you very much. And Dan Jackson, Dan's the engineer, thank you too.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you.